Sunita Staneslow. Welcome to the workshop Playing from the Heart, Creating Sacred Beauty. This is something I feel passionately about, that it's so important to share the whole energy we're creating, share the spirit, share the love when you play. And it's not as easy as it seems. It's so tempting to be just focusing on getting the right notes. We've learned them in time, we have the tempo, and you go to play for the church or wedding or a sacred event, and you're caught in the technique and making sure you don't make mistakes, but really not present. Because it's almost like a balancing act to make sure they know they hired somebody competent, rather than sharing beauty and enjoying the experience. That's what this workshop is about, getting down to some of the fundamental core techniques and approaches needed to really create something beautiful that you feel confident about playing, and so that your focus is not just on catching the right notes, but on creating something beautiful that's shared. I will be using as an example a handout for Deep River. It's a very expressive piece, and my arrangement has a lot of arpeggios that are introductions and interludes. So we'll work on flow on them, and then some about phrasing. It's not important that you learn the whole arrangement or that you play along, but it would be good if you also practiced some of the arpeggios. We'll do them a little bit slower, so that you can be really hands-on in this workshop, digging in and sculpting these phrases, releasing the sound. I wrote also just some notes, basically, for you. I took your notes. And that's what, there's a sheet of just words. And so if you want to use that as a reference, you can. You don't need to follow along with the notes so much, these plain from the heart, and then this side. Let me just skim through it for you. Just that it requires both preparation, both mentally and physically, both, this idea of preparation and purpose. And if you play music that you know well and that you love, then the whole experience is so different than walking this tightrope of something harder. People don't always know what is difficult or what is easy on the harp, whereas they can hear it maybe on other instruments. Violin is really hard to play with good intonation. The harp will just sound beautiful if you are controlling the phrases and you're expressing something that then touches their heart. And that isn't always lots of notes. You don't need a fancy arrangement. So that's the most important thing, I think, is play music that you think is easy. Your hands just will reach the right notes. You aren't going to go into a situation where it's too risky, and so then nerves set in, and then it's not such a pleasant experience for you. So easier music, and you often have to practice more than you think. I've certainly made this mistake. I'm at home think, oh, I've got this. And then when I get there, it's colder, or the lighting isn't as good. Or there's something kind of unexpected, the movement or the noise. You have to know it much more solidly than you think. And some things can be planned for, like you can make sure you have a really good stand light. Bring your own chair, even if you don't need to, just so it's at the right height and it's comfortable. Anything you can do to prepare comfortable clothes, good lighting. You may need to bring a cloth to lay down on the other side of your strings. We see through on the other side. Other instruments don't have this problem. And it could be a plaid carpet. A lot of churches have very red carpets, or it's darker. So these things we can control. And another thing is to clear your mind. I used to be sort of frustrated. I think before going on stage, I would, maybe it's a concert at a church, and the fiddle player or the cellist is kind of warming up silently, and even the percussionist is doing something, and I feel like, wow, my instrument's out there, I'm here, what do I do? And I would get more nervous. And I want to toss out some ideas for you to just clear your mind. Pray, breathe. There's all kinds of breathing techniques that you can learn. I do sometimes a single nostril where I'm breathing in and then I'm closing it one at a time, breathing in and breathing out. Close your eyes. If your blood is flowing, your mind is clear, it's probably better preparation than scrambling last minute, because we never feel like our instrument is in tune or we're warmed up enough. So I'm just touching on that right now, but I really think that it's worth exploring in depth. What do you need to do to clear your head and be in the moment? So when you're out there, it's almost as if there's like a sense of the energy going out. On the harp, we catch the strings, so we're often thinking down. We've caught it, we're plucking, and it's almost working away from the sound. So we're not with the sound that goes out. So we're going to take out Deep River. We're going to work on phrasing, and I want you to think about how we create sound. Almost like bow and arrow, right? So there's a squeeze and a release. Now we can freeze, or we can move. I'm not convinced we have to move a lot, but the sense of movement is really, really crucial, that we are feeling buoyant. That puts us mentally and physically working with this idea that the sound is going out. We're a team with the harp. We are working with sound and energy as the vibrations go out, rather than holding it in. And this can be achieved with just this sense of buoyancy, as if you are giving a nod to the idea that the vibrations are going out rather than freezing. So at the beginning of Deep River, the introduction is 4 arpeggios that start with 3 notes. I do 5 notes, and I'm growing into the piece. So let's do it bar by bar. So you could do everything with your left hand, or you can do the top note with your second finger. I'm going to play everything with my left hand to start with. And as you play, I'm going to do it with my right hand so you see my hand. I'm going to think of squeezing in. Even if you don't close all the way, think of this idea of a follow through, like you created the energy and your finger isn't going to hold it. And I played piano for many years. Many people that come to the harp as adults or even in high school have played a lot of piano. And so instinctively, they're almost like holding it, because when you hold a key down, you're creating the sound. And we don't always think of it as a fuller motion. So when you play your 4th finger, go through as far as you can to your palm. Don't do it as a quick motion, because that would make it staccato. We want to sense this bass, this warmth. That's created by a slight tilt, so that you're getting the soft part of your pad, so it will be little bit rounder or richer. Thumbs are tricky. They go the other direction and often they poke out or aren't as good tone. Here I'm creating an introduction that stays on the low F. There's F and C, and then I'm adding different notes, creating a sense of depth. It's deep river. So from down deep in the water, I have this warm sound. So I have an image when I begin. I'm not just thinking F, C, F, F, C, G, A. In my mind, I'm already creating this story, a storyline of what I'm sharing. Introduction, deep. We're starting with deep, and it's going to start flowing. We'll be into the river, and then the words. Know the words of the piece, the lyrics, the hymn, the psalm. What is the meaning? What is the bigger picture? So let's go back to the depth, the deep waters, F and C. And so the higher F is less important. The next bar, I'm adding 2 more notes, the G and the A. If you end up with your second finger, you have a warmer tone. So tone is created by the angle of your finger, where on the pad you're playing, and how fast you pull it in, and what is the gesture or raise. Because if we go fast, we're creating more of a staccato. If we almost like scooping it out, like this is a string on a bow. I can create a warmer, richer sound. Just try that. If you did the G-A, tilt your hand a little bit. Are you playing in the soft part of your pad? If you play too much on the side, which is what we do for speed or big reaches, tends to be a clearer, brighter sound and a little bit warmer, softer, richer when we angle it up a little bit. Since I'm ending on the second finger, I can afford to really be horizontal versus vertical fingers. There's a lot of play involved with how far you angle down, how you place it on the pad. These all affect tone, and everybody's finger is different. So some people have nails that go all the way to the top. I have a lot of space. Notice your finger. Let's just play that second bar. Octave and fifth with the left hand, and 3 and 2 with the right. Play it a few times. Experiment. Angles, pressure, tension. I'm going to give more room here so my arm doesn't block because of the camera. Normally I'd be like this. For viewing, I'll be like this for you. It's easy notes, so we might think, oh, let's skip to the hard part. But often the very beginning of a piece sets us to be more calm, sets the mood. It's almost, I think of it as walking into a room. What room are you walking into? What are you sharing? Don't skimp on the first few bars of a piece. It should feel completely under control. And then you're telling your mind, I've got this. It's under control. I love this. I play music I love. So I feel like I'm sharing this rather than, okay, here's this piece I hate, but I have to play it. Sometimes we have to play pieces because they're requested and we might not like, but if you can find something about it so you feel like you're sharing something you love, it's something maybe not tangible that the audience can really point at, but they'll feel like it's a completely different experience than if you just go through the motions. Let's do the first 2 bars. Play with me or turn the sound off, and so you are listening to yourself. I'm also consciously thinking about the phrase, I'm opening something up. I'm starting, the first 4 bars have F and C, and then I'm gradually going higher and higher, almost like it's a question, like it's a little bit higher, a little bit higher. I haven't created the end of a sentence, the end of something. I'm still opening it. Let's try the first 3 bars. You could reach for the thumb on the G, or you could do a triad, G, B, and D. Whatever's more comfortable for you. I purposely didn't put many fingerings in here because I think most of them are pretty straightforward, and a few of them there's options. And so rather than filling it with lots of little numbers, you can choose your fingering here. So phrases have this sense of going up, like a phrase marking, right? Going up and going down, or going up and leading to something. So as you're playing, be conscious. Am I going somewhere? Am I growing? All these little things as you're learning a piece, I think are important to add pretty early on. We tend to wait until a piece is completely up to tempo, and then we add the dynamics and the nuance, but we've maybe turned off our ears. So when it's easy, maybe the first day, you've got the first 4 bars, then start working on noticing what makes it beautiful, not just what makes it accurate. The sense of growing, anticipation. I'll write down words on my music so that I'm reminded how to create this storyline. Because there's something about just dots and lines that aren't always as inspiring. So let's do the whole intro, the first 4 bars. I'll play it for you. So what's going on in my mind? I've already taken deep breaths. I'm reminding myself, I've got this. I know these notes. I'm going to tell the story of deep water, and something is getting higher and higher and leading to the melody at the top of the water. I went on into the melody. Wanted to show you that then it's leading to the melody. The introduction paved the way for a melody. If you don't like the introduction of a piece, if it doesn't open up, either add your own or just start on the melody. You could start. But in my mind, I'm already thinking, I'm going up to that A. Shaping the phrase. If I don't shape the phrase, it will sound like this. like to think about which note is subtly warmer. Where am I pressing more? I'm noticing my second finger. If I think the thumb, it could be beautiful because it's harmony, it goes to the melody. I will choose to make that be louder. If I want to make more of a phrase, I'm probably going to emphasize a note before the last or after the first, which is my second finger in this bar. That gives me more of a shape. It's very easy to play the last note of a little mini phrase too loudly, just because all the strength of our hand is ready for that finger. It's just the way we're designed. You actually have to sort of work against that, like be conscious. Ooh, those last notes, especially on your thumb when it gets high. Let's say you did a long arpeggio, ending on your thumb. It's easy for that to poke out, right? So you want to think of the middle, or at least the second to the last, not the top. It'll shape it differently. Maybe I want that to be melody, so I'll keep the other ones much softer. Maybe accent the third or fourth. Decide, what is it you're reaching for? A melody? A curving line that's just accompaniment? What note is important? So not necessarily accented, but just in your mind, you already know to make something flowing or smooth, you don't want to make it equal. And that's what we do when we're technically trying to control something that's maybe has something with weak fingers, and you want to make sure you make everything even. And as soon as you know you have the control, then stop being even. Decide what's important. And then that becomes part of your muscle memory. Often, if we play too long with it being just straight, then when we're at the church or we're playing a solo, we might go back to what's in our fingers already, and it would be more straight than expressive. So something expressive will feel like it fits your hand if you practice it. You have to practice one note louder, one note softer, this elasticity of a phrase. I chose not to make them all the same. And I know we're only a few bars in on the piece, but this is essentially what it is for everything. Where are you leading in the phrase? What notes are important? Because they're not all equal, they're not all the same, and being buoyant. So in a sense, if that's all you want to listen to, that's the core of the whole workshop right now. But it's going deeper a little bit now into all the nuances that I want to take you. So it's arpeggiated intro and now melody. What is the melody and where can I breathe? Because on the harp we don't breathe as if we're singing because we don't have to. Other instruments you have to plan the length of the bow when you shift your when you're going up or down, whatever's changing, when you take your breath, if you're singing or playing a wind instrument. So since we don't do that, it's important to add a little bit of an extra pause. So I wrote actually a breath marking for you after the third bar of the melody, or in the middle of it. So if you're at the end of the line, at the double bar, the first line, that's when the melody begins. I'm just going to play the right hand for you. I went on to the next breath. If you're singing and reaching for that top note, there's this sense of almost like stretching and reaching for a note that is so sweet or more special, or there's a word there that you just want to caress in a sense, or shine. And that's when we play with how fast do we roll a chord. People often, it's not written, oh, do this in a split second, do this a different way. You have to really decide yourself. You're the one controlling the roll. So I wrote a roll on bar 7, second line, second bar. So you have the arpeggio. As if we're stretching something. You could do it fast, which maybe sometimes you'd want to make it bright and strong. How are you interpreting this piece? Is it a little bit more of a faster, energetic, or it's kind of a deeply heart-wrenching piece? I pictured it as more of a ripple. So that and then I hear that note. I wait till the sound goes a little bit down. Now, I exaggerated there, but I just wanted to show you that if you kind of hold something and then you're falling as if think of it as being in the water. There's this ebb and flow. Here we are, deep river, this sense of waves or currents. Then you have the audience following you like you're telling a story. And then you're kind of swimming in the waters too. If you are willing to listen to how long something's ringing and then land and go. I chose this piece to share with you because it's very free, a little bit more rubato, a little bit more holding choice notes. Some songs will be pretty much tempo and straight through, and you don't want to make everything romantic and push and pull. But this is a great chance to really hear the subtle differences of holding and landing down to the end of a phrase. So let's just start on that rolled chord, the G7. There, I thought more about my third finger being louder and a little bit softer on my thumb. I can also make the thumb a little bit louder and dig my finger in so that it's rounder and clearer. If I go, it's easy to make it sharp because I was at the end. You may hear my dog, but my dog loves harp music, so I'm playing for him, and it will make me feel like I'm reaching out to you more. So if you're hearing breath, it's the dog. I can sink my thumb in a little bit, and try that with your thumb. Are you in to the softer part of the pad of your finger? Or are you just at the edge? Listen to the sound, how it changes. That was deeper in my finger. This was the edge. And the difference is very subtle. But I have a callus here, and I'm just aiming just past that callus so my finger is softer. So I want the F to be rich and bright. I push my thumb in a little bit more. And now, I'm going to time when I play depending on how loudly I played the G. If I played it really loudly, I hear this burst of sound, and then it's softer, and then I'm going to come in. I'm not going to catch it when it's really high, or I won't feel like I placed it or landed again. That's part of the sense of ebb and flow. I'm listening to a rush of sound, and as it fades, decide where to pull in. And that's when it sort of mindfulness. I'm really focusing on the sound, and I'm with this catching of the waves in a sense. And then it becomes sort of part of my body and soul rather than, okay, F chord, cross under, da da da. I have to be conscious of the technique, but I'm not absorbed in it anymore because I spent a lot of time preparing and practicing listening and deciding how I want to land or place. As soon as I figured out where my notes go. You can't really work on expression if you can't land the notes. But I think we probably practice huge whole pages or swaths of music at a time, and we don't really learn it quickly enough to then quickly go to the musicality. I'll decide my deadline when I have to know something, and then I'll like maybe think, okay, today I have to learn at least 4 bars or 8 bars. I won't think I'm going to do it all really slowly and then a little bit faster. I practice a lot with a metronome, especially at the beginning. It keeps me slower, puts things in kind of the right sense of rhythm and placement, like locking together. But I won't play long sections slowly because then it's easy to play too heavy. You need the slow work to land correctly, but do it in small sections. So then it's as if you're sculpting, you're massaging, you're getting in there to decide how you angle, how you place, and that becomes part of the learning process quickly, not months later. So some people will take 3 months to learn a piece, and they're tired of it because it's as if they did the dry technical stuff completely before even knowing how to like land the sweet tone or start working with the dynamics. I think of it as like a more holistic process, but it doesn't work until you have the fingerings or notes. So do small sections. Let's play together or just listen. I'll play the very first phrase, the 4-bar introduction into the first phrase, which is 4 bars. And often when I practice, I'll go into the next note so that I'm practicing the timing of how I go into the phrase. I'm going to play those first 4 bars not thinking at all about dynamics or phrasing, and listen to the difference. It's a beautiful piece. It sounds lovely. It's that next step of then I feel like my heart's in it, the audience senses something different, I'm invested in it more, I'm sharing something more. If I'm almost feeling it from my core, I'm digging in to the phrase. And then I might think, I'm too loud in the beginning. I'll take that phrase and I'll work with it. Let's try it a different way. Or I might think, I tried too hard to pause. So I'll go back again and just work with that so that I sort of arrive at a point where I'm feeling like, okay, this is what feels right for how I want to share this piece. It's good to record yourself. I know that just by listening at the end, I don't like the way I put my second finger. I was too much on the side. I'm going to make a note on my music, twist my finger a little bit. Go in a little deeper so I get a rounder sound. And then I'll go back and say, okay, let's do just that last bit. Try one before. And then there's another layer of thinking about how the piece blends. Is the harmony too loud? What note do I want to still ring? And each harp is different. And right now I'm sort of bouncing off the walls here. If I was in a place with a much thicker carpet, it might take a subtle adjustment. So when you practice being a little bit more malleable, in a sense, that your hand is supple and you're deciding what to do, then you can be more adaptable in a different setting. So often we feel so comfortable in our own home practicing. We go somewhere else and the harp sounds different. We tighten up. It's not somehow sounding the same or feeling the same. But if you've practiced adjusting it, being more malleable, it's easier to adapt because that's already in our body to like, ooh, I can pull back here, or I need to react. How do you react? And it all goes back to me. It's like, are you sharing something? Is there's this energy back and forth? Is it something a little bit more alive or sacred? Or are you just happy you're going straight through and catching it? Which comes back to, again, playing something more simple or just more comfortable. Sometimes music that actually has a lot of arpeggio seems not so simple, fits the hands nicely. And so what's comfortable versus how many notes isn't always related. Dynamics. Dynamics are important, but I think of them as also personal. So I might decide I'm going to start soft and get louder, even though the music says mezzo forte and the second time through is mezzo piano. So I want to let you know that depending on the space and how you want to think of the verses, go ahead and don't feel like you're forcing dynamics ever. It should feel right for your harp and your fingers. So I have this mantra in my mind that I use a lot. I was a therapeutic harpist in a children's hospital for many years, and I just kept thinking music is love, and thinking of the energy coming from above and going out, almost like this sense of a circle. And that would clear me to be thinking of them and not telling myself something that would make me tight or downward thinking. And so find what works for you. Is it breath? Is it a prayer? Is it a mantra? What are you already in your mind and space thinking and feeling? Because then if your body is a little bit more relaxed or you're comfortable, you can control and share in a different way than fight or flight, right? That like, okay, I'm going to catch those strings, which is a downward motion. And then we get more and more careful. And so that we're down. Downward focused, downward playing, work with the harp. I like to think of this sense of what am I creating with the sound as if it's alive, as if it's a story, as if it's, you know, it's vibration. I'm sharing something, and then it's as if it's like this bubble of sound, and the piece ends. As if this whole sphere around me I'm working with, not just finger string down. It's a bigger picture that I think for sacred settings is very important. Why am I here? What am I sharing? What's my place in this? And how can I be part of creating something a little bit more magical that will touch people rather than hoping just the notes will do it? So timing. It's concept and then it's timing. And timing and accents. This is what it comes down to. Let's continue on with the piece and talk a little bit about where you could add a breath. Where can the timing have a little push and pull? Obviously not crazy push and pull, but as if it's breathing, as if it's alive. And just how we speak, we don't speak like a computer. Actually, computers are getting much better at speaking. It's not even, it's not equal. There's breath, there's pause, there's emphasis. So same with a melody. Let's start with bar 13. It's the third line, halfway in. I'm just going to play the right hand, and I'm going to think about how I would sing it if I was singing. A lot of things I want to share you from that. You'll see 3 notes in a row, 3 Fs at the end of the third line. I like to play them with the same finger, and I was thinking too much about that rather than just playing it. And so I didn't get quite the sound I wanted. When you play 2-3-2, that's a fantastic classical technique for making something clear, clean, and equal. Here, these are different syllables and words. I don't want it to sound equal. So I'm going to play with my second finger and adjust the angle. So it's slightly different. If I didn't adjust it and just played with the second finger, it's easy for it to just sound repeated rather than that there's words that go with it. Play it with your second finger. How much do you have to move in and out or play with how fast you articulate to create a different sound? Where are you on the string? Cleaner, muted, richer, also a little more nasal. great thing about video, you can pause, listen to yourself, then listen to me rather than me just staring at you. So feel free to pause and experiment just with your second finger. All the different subtle sounds you can make or tone you can create by further in the finger, the angle. Do you raise? Do you pull down? Just be aware that everything matters. How you move, the direction, where on the finger. Try it. Then let's look at, after those 3 notes, the rolled chord in the right hand. So you can accent the 4th finger. You could accent the 3rd finger. You can think of the thumb. I want to think more thumb and faster. Ooh, that was too bright. So as I'm working on it, I'll keep adjusting my hand. I'm exaggerating now, but just subtly so that I kind of find the sweet spot. Like, yeah, when I do that, make sure my hand is like this. And so my brain is telling my hand, yes, this is it. That's what I want. And do it several times because our body remembers holistically, remembers the 10 times you didn't like it as being more important maybe than the one time you got it. It's not like finding the right word, you erased it and you have something. You need to really consciously play it right more times than wrong. And people will say like, oh, I played it perfectly at home, but maybe for the last 3 months you played a lot of mistakes. So when you get nervous, that's what your body reverts to, not that you finally got it right. So small chunks, little phrases, and notice. This is the key to really controlling your phrases. It doesn't happen as quickly if you do the whole thing over and over. It's like peeling thin layers and to get where you want. Dig in a little bit to that little subtle phrase. What are you doing? Shaping your hand. Where are the fingers? How are you following through? Is your concept of working with the sound or pulling the sound towards you? We naturally want to play it safe. We naturally are pulling towards us, the harp and our body. If we can think of pulling into our hands, and then we can move with our elbow where we go, or be as buoyant or following the sound, we actually have more control unless we're going really fast. So if it's fast classical and you're resting your arm and you're gliding, this is giving you comfort and control. You're playing a spiritual and you want to dig into the richness, you're going to be moving out more with the sound. So context of the piece is important. Another reason to think about tone or subtle difference in timing is just the nature of the harp. So the harp, for better or for worse, is what's called pitched percussion. So once we play a string, like a marimba would be a pitched percussion, we can't change that. We can't go in and add vibrato, make it a little bit louder or softer. We have created that and now it's out there. So the difference between a quarter note and a half note, eighth note, unless you're playing a note right after, it's lost. They sound the same. Did I play a quarter note? Was that a half note? A whole note? So it depends on what is played before and after, and maybe if it's in the end of a phrase or really long note coming at the end of, or at the peak or at the end of a phrase, a subtle pause as if you're sinking into it will give a sense of something being longer rather than shorter. So, well, let's go back to bar 13. In the middle of the third line, you have that half note and it's even tied. So if I raise just a little bit and slowly, it's as if I'm still pretending that I'm still creating that sound. I'm still following it. If I'm busy thinking of the left hand, I may lose the energy of that. So the listener has already forgotten that note. If I am as if my arm is still working with this sound, not flinging because then you wouldn't be with it, you'd be tossing it away. I'm creating the illusion that I'm still making that sound and it's longer. Or I might take a subtle breath before it. So the bar before is the end of a phrase. I might decide how long do I want to take a breath so that I'm sinking into a longer note. A little bit of a longer roll, slower roll, gives a sense of a longer note than, even though that lasts longer, I'm going to think of it as sort of crisp and more staccato or finished, if I'm not muffling it. So a slower roll will give this sense of length. Gives it more richness too. So I'll control the timing of the roll depending on the length of the note and which note I think should be important. These are, I know, nitpicky little subtle things, but this is what changes something from being accurate and lovely to going a little deeper. I'm going to move my hand also slowly so that I feel as if it says a half note. I'm going out to, and then just coming back for the third beat. If I came back right away, it's subtle, but people are influenced by what they hear, by what they see also. So if I am fluid in my motions, then they're going to hear and experience that too. So I think of that as shaping a phrase. I subtly changed the angle of my hand. I moved slowly as if I am still part of that sound, a longer sound before coming back to the string. And so if you finish a song or a hymn and it's a big chord, you can slowly move your arms and they're part of that long note. We feel like, oh, I'm done and we're gone. But if you can just give this sense that you're still part of the sound, then you've helped shape it and land. It's as if the magic then is just sort of, the sparkles go down gently to the ground, the magic. They'll experience it that way rather than your arms down right away. So long, especially endings. I'm often going to breathe in so I'm not tempted. Now the sound's going down. My dog just breathed. It's as if we give the respect for the sound to be almost covering them. And I think of that as respect. I'm going to respect the piece and respect the listener. And people are so tempted to immediately clap. And that's the wonderful thing I think about playing in a more sacred space at church where you're not going to clap, so that you can control the sense of maybe just beauty or awe as this beautiful harp music is just kind of covering the whole space, and then move on. And you control that with your arms. And it may seem like a million years, but that was literally only a few seconds. So try that. Any piece you have. What's your last chord? Do you want that top note really loud? Do you want to, because that's what you're reaching for? Or do you want to just kind of give more the warmth and then just a bell? Decide that last note and how long you're feeling this sense of teamwork, really, with your harp and the sound. And if there's no more sound, then you're done too, right? It's teamwork. When you practice how you're moving, especially if there's levers to change or levers. Do you know where your hand's going to go? Because that can also be a distraction if we make them too fast, because, oh no, we're in panic. And it's so easy. I still under practice my levers. I think, yeah, I've got this. But my body might not have it exactly from here to where I land. I'm playing here, move this, land there. It's rarely straight up and down. And there's so, like extra credit, but we need to do that. I wish it was live and I could just open it for questions now. But I'll tell you some more things that I think of when I'm trying to really play expressively. I will either make up my own words. If I don't have the lyrics, let's say it's an elegy. So that's what it's called, but there are no words. I might not make up words for every note, but I will have certain sweet sections that maybe if I'm thinking syllables like the word, let's say the word love or the word Lord, it's a long one syllable. It's not like it. So I'm going to think of creating a little bit more of a depth around sound to that note if it's not just plucked. I don't like the word plucked because it's sort of like typing. It's very neat and clean, and most of the time in the harp we're working with ringing strings. There's a lot of muddiness going on, and we are sort of working with this ebb and flow and shaping and push and pull and less pluck. So if I'm thinking love versus it, I might approach it differently. So toss in a few words. Peace. Peace is a long word also. One syllable word. Add dynamics, mark up your music for however it helps you. Sometimes we think we need to practice with a lot of things to remind us, and then it gets too busy. I sometimes have tunnel vision when I have to play somewhere, and so I'll have a different copy, not the one that I wrote. Go to here, do this or that, and then it's cleaner, so I have only the real key points I need now. So think of that. Mark up your music as you're learning it. Have another cleaner version for exactly what you need when you're playing. And I guess I can't emphasize enough how important I think it is to truly play music you love, that you feel is part of what makes a situation more sacred. I mean, I do therapeutic harp, and I think of that as a very sacred situation. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it is in a church, but so much of life is sacred. Are you present and really playing from your heart, or do you feel that you need to keep giving new music, and so you're just able to kind of catch it and make it as nice as you can, but it doesn't go that extra layer of being really something you are controlling and feeling that you are sharing. And then you will feel like you are also sharing in this sacred moment, not just creating it for others, but there is this sense of give and take, of energy, of love, however you want to think of it. And you can always hear it when someone's playing something they love. And I'll take somebody playing something expressively with lots of messy notes any day over somebody being really neat and clean and careful, but they're not breathing. They're stiff, or things poke out. What is the priority? And it comes from practicing, preparing already in that space. And I think also enjoying the journey. I feel that playing the harp is a sacred journey. We are truly blessed that we play this beautiful instrument. And it's easy to be hard on ourselves, to set expectations. Well, I should have this pace, and I should have nailed this, and I should have done this and that. And I hope you just give yourself permission to just share love. So I shared the entire arrangement of Deep River. I'm just going to go to another section that's just improv about the technical push and pull, just so that you think about how to practice it and just enjoy this arrangement. It's from At the River. It's a book that I have that is published by Seraphim Music, Rhett Barnwell's publishing company. The last page, page 4, is just all water, ebb, flow. The first 4 bars are just like the intro, so we've already talked through those. I'm going to start on the 5th bar, the last bar on the top line of page 4. There's a crescendo. I want to feel like I'm going up and up. So here's... I'm not going to necessarily play my thumb always louder. The C was a little bit softer. I can play it louder too. I'm going to play with it depending on the situation. It's more important the next note, the D, is louder. So here's the last bar of the top line going into the next line. I'll take 1 or 2 bars at a time, decide what note is right, and then I have to think of my fingering. So here, it's 7 notes. I can do it left hand, right hand. I'm opening up the thumb and the left hand to the G. It's a 10th. And this is just a chord within an octave, B and B. So it fits the hand. Try and find when you phrase what fits the hand, rather than, okay, this is left, this is right. You could also do that. The stems down are left hand, stems up are right hand often for harp music. That also works. So I did stems differently, also sometimes to give you a hint of fingering. I like going in with a full hand. So there's a little personal preference there. And this is the whole note. That's the note I've been waiting for. I may rush into it and then pause, or pause before. I'll play with the timing and decide what rings best for my harp. Right now, I'm going to pause just before that A. Maybe the A wasn't loud enough. I'll go back again. That was too tight. So this is how I practice. It's maybe a bar into the next bar. It's not going that whole page. I'm going to sort of not spend as much time with something that I already know. The first 4 bars, I did them in the intro. Where's it leading? What's really important to get the right sound? Those bars. Maybe I won't pause. Maybe I need a little more time to adjust my second finger. Almost. So I don't necessarily count how many times I'm going to repeat something. I will think of each time something a little bit different. What am I reaching for? What do I want? How does it sound? How does it feel? Okay. Now I'm starting to fade out. Oh, they're almost all the same. Okay, why am I making it so hard? Third line. If you're not sure you're going to land the harmonic, you can double with your right hand. So I'll have spent more time on a couple key bars, and then I'll try, once I feel like I've controlled that, I'll try that whole ending. Did I reach for where I wanted? Am I coming back down? Is there this sense of push and pull? It's no longer the song. I can sort of be these ripples, the water. It's called Deep River, but I'm ending higher. It's going up sort of to heaven. I have this image. I have this story. It's going to be interesting every time I play it, rather than, okay, I've got it. It's the same. I'm invested in it. And so then practicing becomes more interesting. So maybe it will be for you. If you're really going after the sweet spot, the story, and just enjoy the journey. We play such a beautiful instrument, and creating sacred beauty, maybe that's what it's all about. Thanks.